I never imagined my escape to Spain would unravel like this. Back home in Seattle, life had felt like a slow drip pour of monotony. The same rainy commutes to my barista gig, the same half-hearted dates with guys who quoted Nietzsche like it made them deep, the same ache in my chest whenever Mom asked why I hadn't settled down yet. At 22 I was supposed to have it all figured out, college degree in hand, art history, because why not chase dreams that paid in ramen? A 5-year plan, maybe a cat. Instead, I had a one-way ticket to Malaga, courtesy of a graduation gift from Mom, who insisted I find myself abroad. Go chase the sun, kiddo, she'd said, hugging me at the airport. And call your Aunt Jen if you need anything. She's in Europe this summer. Aunt General, not blood but close enough. Genesis Hale, Mom's college roommate from the wild 90s at UW, the one with the laugh like wind chimes and stories that could fill a novel. They'd bonded over bat poetry slams and worse boyfriends, and Jen had become the cool aunt figure in my life, sending postcards from her globe-trotting photojournalism gigs, crashing family holidays with tales of dodging tear gas in Istanbul or skinny dipping in Bali. Last I'd heard, she was freshly divorced from her architect husband, nursing a broken heart with freelance assignments. Mom had forwarded her itinerary. A month in southern Spain, shooting for a travel mag on hidden gems of the Costa del Sol. Text her, Mom urged. She's got that rental car. Road trip vibes. So I did. A tentative DM. Hey Aunt Jen, Nova here. Landing in Malaga tomorrow. Any chance for a detour? Her reply was instant. Kiddo. Hell yes. Pick you up at arrivals. Pack light, we're chasing horizons. That first hug at the airport was all jasmine perfume and sun-warmed arms, her silver-streaked hair tickling my cheek. Up close, she was even more striking than the faded photos. Mid-40s with those hawkish cheekbones and eyes like smoked quartz, laugh lines etching stories around her mouth. She drove a cherry-red '67 Mustang convertible. Rented, she said, because nothing says freedom like American muscle on Spanish curves. We blasted Joan Baez on the stereo as we cruised the A7 toward Ronda, the Mediterranean glittering like shattered glass on our left. Spill it, Nova, she said, one hand on the wheel, the other gesturing like she was conducting an invisible orchestra. What's got you running? I laughed it off at first. Just postgrad blues. You know, the what now spiral. But Jen had a way of peeling back layers without trying. Over tapas in a cliffside taverna that night, patatas bravas sharp with smoked paprika, glasses of Rioja catching the sunset, she coaxed out the truth. The breakup with Jake, my college boyfriend, who'd ghosted me after I confessed I wasn't sure about us anymore. The nagging doubt that maybe I didn't like guys the way I was supposed to. The way I'd stare at the barista across from me at work, a girl with a pixie cut and tattoos like watercolor stains, and feel a flutter I couldn't name. Jen listened without judgment, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. Darlin', life's too short for labels that don't fit. I learned that the hard way. She didn't elaborate, just clinked her glass to mine. To detours. The next week blurred into a montage of sun-drenched freedom. We snaked through the white villages of the Pueblos Blancos, Jen's camera clicking like a heartbeat, her framing the bougainvillea-draped doorways of Frigiliana, me sketching the Moorish arches in my notebook. She'd park the Mustang at hidden coves, where turquoise waves lapped at volcanic black sand, and we'd swim until our skin pruned, laughing about nothing. At night, in posadas with wrought iron balconies overlooking olive groves, she'd read aloud from Lorca's poems, her voice husky with the day's wine, while I pretended to sleep but really just listened to the rhythm of her breath. It was on the road to Cordoba, third day in, that the first crack appeared. We'd stopped at a roadside shrine. Tiny Madonna statue swathed in faded carnations, when my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. How's the adventure? Jen treating you right? I snapped a selfie of us, arms slung around each other, grins wide under the Andalusian sun, and hit send. Jen peeked over my shoulder, her chin brushing my hair. We make a hell of a pair, don't we? Something in her tone, soft, almost wistful, made my stomach flip. I shoved the phone away, blaming the heat. But the flips kept coming. The way her hand lingered on my knee when pointing out a flamenco poster in Sevilla, the heat of her palm seeping through denim like a secret. The mornings when she'd emerge from the bathroom in a towel, droplets tracing the curve of her collarbone, and I'd avert my eyes, cheeks burning. You're quiet today, she'd say, tossing me a mango from the market basket. Penny for your thoughts? I'd mumble about the scenery, but inside it was a storm. She's your mom's friend. She's twice your age. She's straight, or was until that divorce. Get a grip, Nova. We hit Granada on a whim, the Alhambra's honeycombed arches glowing like a mirage under moonlight. Jen had scored tickets through a contact, and we wandered the Nasrid palaces hand in hand. Necessary, she joked, to not get separated in the crowds. But her fingers intertwined with mine felt anything but casual, warm and sure, like they'd always belonged there. In the court of the lions, fountains murmuring like old lovers, she stopped and faced me. You remind me of myself at your age, she said, her voice low, full of fire but scared to burn. I wanted to ask what she meant, but the tour group pressed on, and the moment slipped away. By the time we pointed the Mustang west toward the coast, the air between us hummed with unspoken things. We'd fallen into a rhythm. Her driving, me navigating via a crumpled map app, playlists alternating between her classic Americana, Joni Mitchell, Fleetwood Mac, and my indie folk. One afternoon, as we crested a pass into the Sierra Nevada foothills, thunderheads boiled on the horizon. Storm's coming, Jen said, squinting at the sky. We should push through to the next town. But the road narrowed, hairpin turns hugging sheer cliffs, and I felt a thrill of recklessness. Let's keep going. Adventure, right? Famous last words. The rain hit like a monsoon, sheets blurring the windshield, wipers slapping futilely. Jen downshifted, cursing under her breath as hydroplaning threatened. This baby's got soul, but she's no all-wheel drive. Then the curve came too fast. The one with the rusted guardrail and the valley drop. She yanked the wheel, but the tires lost grip and we spun. Time stretched. The cliff rushing up, my scream swallowed by the downpour. Jen's arm shooting out to shield me. Impact. Jolt. Silence. When the world righted itself, the Mustang idled crookedly against the rail, nose kissing the edge. Rain hammered the canvas top, we'd raised just in time. My hand shook as I unbuckled, heart jackhammering. Jen? Are you? I'm fine, she gasped, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Not deep, just dramatic. She touched it, winced, then reached for me. Nova, look at me. We're okay. We're okay. But her eyes, wide with adrenaline, held something raw, unguarded. And in that suspended beat, with lightning cracking the sky, I blurted it. I think I'm falling for you. And it's terrifying. She froze, rain drumming like applause. Then slowly her hand found mine. Oh, kiddo, she whispered, voice breaking. You have no idea. The confession hung between us, heavier than the storm clouds, but we couldn't stay parked on that precipice. Jen killed the engine, the sudden quiet amplifying our breaths. We need to get off this road, she said, practical as ever, though her voice trembled. She popped the trunk for the flares and reflective triangles, ever the prepared traveler, and we trudged to the shoulder, waving down a passing trucker in a battered Fiat. He was a grizzled local named Paco, who chain-smoked Ducados and spoke in rapid-fire Andalus, towing us to a roadside mechanic in a hamlet called El Burgo. The shop was a tin-roofed relic, smelling of oil and espresso from a battered Bialetti on the hot plate. Paco translated as the mechanic, a wiry man with grease-blackened forearms, diagnosed a blown tie rod and hydro-locked engine. Mañana, he grunted, tomorrow. Storm flooded everything. Parts from Ronda, maybe 2 days. Jen bartered in broken Spanish, flashing her press badge for a discount, while I huddled under an awning, replaying my words like a bad loop. Falling for you. What the hell was I thinking? She was Genesis Hale, trailblazer, heartbreak survivor, not some crush to pin my identity crisis on. We hitched a ride to the nearest posada, a converted olive mill on the outskirts, its courtyard strung with lemon trees and fairy lights. The owner, a plump widow named Rosa, clucked over Jen's cut, dabbing it with arnica while serving us bowls of gazpacho chilled to perfection. Americanas locus, she teased, her English laced with affection. Upstairs, our room was a cozy nook with twin beds draped in linen, a shared balcony overlooking mist-shrouded hills. We showered off the road grime, separately, thank God, and emerged in borrowed robes, the air thick with unspoken tension. Jen broke it first, padding to the balcony with 2 glasses of her emergency stash. A hip flask of bourbon smuggled from duty-free. To survival, she toasted, settling into a wicker chair. The storm had passed, leaving a velvet night pierced by stars. I joined her, knees drawn up, the rope's tie loosening just enough to feel exposed. Nova, she started, swirling her drink. About what you said. Don't? I cut in, sharper than intended. It was the crash. Adrenaline. Forget it. But my voice cracked, betraying me. She set her glass down, leaning forward, elbows on knees. Moonlight silvered her profile, turning her into a sculpture, strong jaw, the faint scar above her lip from a long-ago skateboarding wipeout she'd once told me about. I can't forget it. Because I've been feeling it too. Her words landed soft, but they detonated inside me. This trip it's like seeing color again after years in grayscale. You're brave, Nova. Fiercer than I ever was. I stared, pulse roaring in my ears. But you, Mom's friend. The one who dated rock climbers and wrote exposés on queer rights in the 90s, remember? You told me stories about marching in San Francisco, but then you married David. Settled. Her laugh was bitter like espresso grounds. Settled? God, that's what I thought too. David was safe, steady job, shared politics, no drama. But it was a cage, Nova. I buried parts of myself to fit. And now? She trailed off, eyes distant. The divorce was my wake-up. But you make me want to unearth it all. The admission cracked something open in me. A dam I'd built against the confusion of crushes on women in college. The way I'd scroll Tumblr late nights, heart racing at stories like ours. I reached for her hand, tentative, and she laced our fingers without hesitation. What if it's a mistake? I whispered. What if we ruin everything? Then we ruin it beautifully, she said, pulling me closer until our foreheads touched, breaths mingling. Her lips brushed mine. Not a kiss, not yet, but a promise. Warm, tentative, tasting of bourbon and rain. We lingered there, suspended, until Rose's distant radio crooned a Fathu ballad, pulling us back. Sleep was fitful that night, the thin wall between beds a mocking divide. I dreamed of cliffs and confessions, waking to Jen's silhouette on the balcony at dawn, sketching the sunrise with a pencil stub. Breakfast was figs and manchego on the terrace, conversation skirting the edges, plans for Cordoba once the car was fixed, a detour to the Sherry Triangle. But under it all a current flowed, electric and inevitable. The mechanic called midday, parts delayed by mudslides. Otro dia, he grumbled. We filled the time wandering El Burgos Mercado, haggling for ceramics and saffron, Jen's arm brushing mine in the crush of stalls. By afternoon the pull was unbearable. Back at the posada, Rosa gone to her sister's, we found ourselves on the balcony again, the hills rolling gold under the sun. Nova, Jen murmured, her hand tracing my jaw. Tell me to stop. But I didn't. I leaned in, and this time it was a real kiss, slow, exploratory, her lips soft against mine, tasting of salt and sweetness. Hands roamed tentatively, mine in her hair, hers at my waist, drawing me closer until we were a tangle of robes and whispers. It wasn't fire. It was a hearth, warm and steady, building layer by layer. We talked between breaths. Her first love, a woman in art school who'd shattered her heart. My fumbling realizations, the guilt of wanting what society whispered was wrong. It's not wrong, she insisted, eyes fierce. It's us. Days blurred into a stolen idyll. We hiked goat paths to hidden waterfalls, picnicked on rooftops with views of Gibraltar's silhouette. Jen taught me to drive the Mustang on backroads, her hand over mine on the stick shift, laughing when I stalled. Nights were ours, stargazing with Lorca's words, bodies curling together under quilts, kisses deepening but always stopping short, respectful of the line we'd crossed but not shattered. We're writing our own story, she'd say, tracing constellations on my skin. Yet doubt not. Texts from Mom piled up. Everything okay? Radio silence is weird. I replied vaguely, guilt twisting like a knife. And Jen's phone, once it pinged with an unknown number, her face clouding as she silenced it. Old contact, she dismissed, but I saw the shadow. The car was ready on the 5th day, gleaming under a carport rainbowed by oil slicks. Paco towed it back, winking as he handed over the keys. Cuidado con las curvas, señoritas. We loaded up, the Mustang purring like forgiven sin, and hit the road toward Sevilla. The kiss of freedom was bittersweet now, our bubble threatening to burst. Halfway there, on a straightaway flanked by cork oaks, Jen's phone rang, insistent, shattering the Fleetwood Mac ballad. She glanced at the screen, jaw tightening. I have to take this. Go ahead, I said, but my stomach dropped as she pulled over, stepping out for privacy. Through the open window, fragments carried on the breeze. Can't keep doing this. David, please. It's over. My blood ran cold. David. Her ex. The safe husband. Not over. She climbed back in, face pale. Everything all right? I asked, voice small. Fine, she lied, starting the engine. But the lie lodged between us like a stone. As Sevilla's spires rose on the horizon, I wondered if our detour had been a dream, or a detour from truth. Sevilla wrapped around us like a fever dream, all orange trees heavy with blossom and the Guadalquivir River slithering through its veins. We checked into a boutique hotel in Santa Cruz, its rooms tiled in azure and cobalt, a rooftop pool overlooking the Giralda's golden honeycomb. Jen suggested it as a reset. Sightseeing, tapas crawls, no more roadside purgatory. But the shadow of that phone call clung, turning every glance into a question mark. We started strong. Mornings at the Alcazar, wandering its labyrinthine gardens where peacocks strutted like minor royalty. Jen's camera captured the interplay of light on Moorish arches, her focus a shield against the tension. See this, she'd say, pointing to a faded fresco of intertwined lovers. Love in these walls, defiant, hidden. I'd nod, but my mind replayed her voice on the call. It's over. Was it? Or was I the rebound, the youthful spark reigniting an old flame? Afternoons dissolved into siestas, us tangled on the canopied bed. Her head on my chest, fingers idly sketching patterns on my arm. Tell me about Seattle, she'd murmur, voice drowsy. I'd spin tales of Pike Place fish tossers and ferry rides to Bainbridge, but she'd counter with her own. The 90s Seattle grunge scene where she'd photographed Nirvana unplugged, or the night she came out to Mom over dorm room screwdrivers. Your mom was the first to hug me back, she said once, eyes misty. Said, Jen loves love, don't let the world dim yours. That vulnerability drew me deeper, made me spill my fears. The homophobic uncle who'd sneered at my phase during family dinners. The college roommate who'd outed me accidentally to our hall. You're not a phase, Jen whispered, kissing my temple. You're a revelation. In those moments, Sevilla felt eternal. Flamenco guitars wailing from Triana to Bernis, plates of jamón ibérico melting on our tongues, her hand in mine as we crossed Plaza de España's bridges. But the cracks widened. Jen's phone became a ghost, buzzing at odd hours, always silenced or stepped away for. I'd catch her staring at it during dinner, fork paused mid-air, until I'd joke about the paella to pull her back. One night, after a rooftop dinner of grilled sardines and Albarino, we danced to a street busker's guitar slow, swaying under lantern glow. Her body fit against mine like a missing piece, hips moving in sync, breath warm on my neck. I could stay like this forever, I said, emboldened by wine. She stiffened just a fraction. Nova, we need to talk. We retreated to the room, the city's hum filtering through shutters. She paced, robe slipping off one shoulder, revealing the constellation of freckles I'd memorized. That call, it was David. He's struggling with the divorce. Therapy, all that. He wants to try again. The words hit like a gut punch. Try again? After everything you said. I know. She sank onto the bed, head in hands. I told him no. But he's persistent. And part of me, God, a tiny part, wonders if I bailed too soon. If this, she gestured between us, is just escape for both of us. Rage bubbled, hot and unfamiliar. Escape? Is that what I am? Your midlife detour. I stood, arms crossed, the room shrinking. You kissed me back, General, you said I make you feel alive. Was that bullshit? No. She surged up, grabbing my hands. It's real. You're real. But I'm scared, Nova. Scared of hurting you, of blowing up your world. You're young, your whole life ahead. What if I'm the mistake that sets you back? I yanked away, tears stinging. Don't patronize me. I'm not a kid you need to protect. I chose this, chose you. The fight spilled out. Her for burying her queerness for safety. Me for projecting my confusions onto her. Words flew like shrapnel, selfish, coward, illusion. She stormed to the balcony, and I collapsed on the bed, sobs muffled in the pillow. Sevilla's bells tolled midnight, indifferent. Dawn brought fragile truce. Over café con leche in the hotel cafe, eyes puffy we agreed. No more ghosts. David's past, she vowed, squeezing my hand under the table. This is now. We threw ourselves into the city, cycling through Maria Luisa Park, her laughter genuine as we fed the rowboat swans. A private flamenco lesson where she pulled me into a paso doble, our steps clumsy but joyful. The reconciliation deepened our intimacy. Kisses in shadowed alleys, her teaching me to roll a cigarette one-handed, me braiding wildflowers into her hair. Yet betrayal lurked. 2 nights later, I woke to murmurs from the bathroom. Door ajar, phone glow illuminating Jen's face, tear-streaked, whispering, "I miss you too, but..." "No, David. We can't." My heart fractured. She was entertaining it, missing him. The next day, over a market lunch of espinacas con garbanzos, I confronted her. "I heard you. Last night." Her fork clattered. "Nova, it's not. Save it." I fled, weaving through Triana's pottery stalls, pulse thundering. She found me by the river, on a bench where locals fished for eels. "Let me explain," she pleaded, dropping beside me. "He's manipulating, guilt trips about the house, the life we built. But I don't want it back. I want this." She cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears. "I want you." We talked for hours, raw and unfiltered. Her fear of vulnerability post-divorce, my terror of rejection echoing old wounds. "Betrayal's a two-way street," she admitted. "I've betrayed myself for years. Don't let me betray us." Forgiveness came slow, a seed in cracked soil, but it took root. That night we made quiet promises under the duvet. Letters we'd burn, vows whispered in the dark. The road called again. Cut is next, white sand beaches and Phoenician ghosts. But as we packed, Mom's email pinged. "Jen mentioned you're inseparable. Be careful, sweetie. Don't let wanderlust eclipse home." Guilt twisted anew. Home, where labels waited, judgments loomed. Could we bring us back? On the drive, windows down, salt wind whipping, Jen cranked Springsteen, Thunder Road, ironic. An apartment, where to next? She asked, hand on my thigh. "Anywhere," I said. "As long as it's with you." But in the rearview, storm clouds gathered once more. Cadiz was our crucible, the Atlantic crashing against its walls like unresolved symphonies. The city unfolded in layers. Roman ruins unearthed like buried secrets, cathedrals soaring with Baroque fervor, beaches where surfers carved the waves under endless blue. We rented a casita in the old town, its walls whitewashed and cool, courtyard bursting with jasmine that perfumed our mornings. Here, away from Sevilla's intensity, we rebuilt, brick by tender brick. Jen threw herself into work, scouting locations for her magazine spread. The Puerta de Tierra's massive gates, the neoclassical Teatro Falla where she'd snag a contact for a behind-the-scenes shoot. I'd tag along, sketching the chaos of the central market. Fishmongers hawking bakwarans, old women bargaining over pimentos de padrón. Afternoons were ours. Siestas stretching into lovers' lays. Her reading Hemingway aloud while I traced the veins on her forearms, blue rivers under sun-kissed skin. "You make the world sharper," she'd say, nuzzling my neck. Kisses evolved into caresses, boundaries blurring in the safety of our nook. Hands exploring with reverence, not rush, honoring the fragility of what we'd forged. But David haunted the edges. A letter arrived, forwarded from her Madrid P.O. box, thick vellum scrawled in his architect's precise hand. Jen read it alone at first, then shared over sunset sangria on the ramparts. "He wants reconciliation. Therapy, a fresh start. Says he gets it now, my struggles." Her voice dripped sarcasm, but pain flickered. "Part of me pities him. The life we planned crumbled." I swallowed jealousy, forcing empathy. "And the other part? Wants to burn it all." She tore the letter, scattering shreds to the wind. "For you. For us." We sealed it with a kiss, fierce and claiming, the ocean's roar our witness. That night, doubts assuaged, we danced barefoot in the courtyard to a portable speaker's indie playlist. Phoebe Bridgers ached mirroring our own. Vulnerability peaked. Her confessing the loneliness of her marriage, masking queerness with perfect heteronormativity. Me admitting the road trip was half-flight from coming out to Mom. "She'd love you," I said. "But she'd worry." "Let her," Jen replied, pulling me close. "Worry's love's shadow." The high tide of our idyll crashed on the 8th day. We'd planned a day trip to Tarifa, Kitesurfers dotting the strait like colorful birds. Africa a hazy tease across the water. But en route, the Mustang sputtered, overheating on the N340. Cursing, Jen pulled into a Mirador overlook, steam hissing from the hood. While she called roadside assistance, I wandered the bluff, wind tugging my hair, staring at the sea's endless churn. My phone buzzed. Mom. Call me. Jen's ex reached out, concerned. What's going on? Panic surged. David had contacted Mom? I dialed, heart slamming. Sweetie, Mom's voice warm but edged. David emailed, said Jen, spiraling, mentioned you two are close. Is everything okay? I froze, words tangling. Mom, it's complicated. Complicated how? Pause. Nova, talk to me. The van arrived before I could. Two strapping Spaniards who jury-rigged a fix with duct tape and prayers. Jen loaded up, oblivious, but my silence screamed. Back in Cadiz, confrontation erupted over a dinner of tortillitas de camarones, the salty crunch turning to ash in my mouth. David called Mom. I blurted, fork down. Emailed her. About us. Jen blanched. What? I didn't. He knows. And now she does too. Tears welled, betrayal acrid. You said it was over. But he's still pulling strings and you're letting him. She reached across the table but I recoiled. Nova, listen, he's desperate. I blocked him but he found workarounds. I should have told you. Should have. The restaurant hushed, stares prickling. We fled to the casita, storming through emotions. Her defending it as his issue, not ours. Me railing against the intrusion, the exposure. This was supposed to be ours, I cried. Not some messy footnote to your divorce. It's not. She paced, anguish carving her face. You're not a footnote. You're the chapter one didn't know I needed. But doubt poisoned it all. Whispers of rebound, imbalance, what now? In the melee, truth surfaced. David's email had painted her as unstable, me as influenced. A narrative twist that gutted. He's gaslighting us both, Jen realized, sinking to the floor. And I let him by not shutting it down harder. We held vigil that night, backs against the courtyard wall, stars indifferent above. Dawn brought clarity, hard one. A pact to face it head on. Jen drafted an email to David, final, unyielding, we're done. Respect that or lose everything. To Mom, a joint call. Me shaky, Jen steady, explaining our bond, the beauty in it. Mom's silence stretched, then softened. If it makes you happy, kiddo. That's all I ever wanted. Jen's family always was. Relief washed, but the road trip's end loomed. My flight home in 2 days. Jen's assignment wrapping. What now? I asked, packing in the humid afternoon. She zipped my bag, eyes searching. We fight for it. Visits, calls, hell, I'll move to Seattle if you'll have me. A beat. But only if you're sure. I was. On my last night we drove to Bologna Beach. Roman ruins at dusk, dunes whispering secrets. There under a blanket of Milky Way we made love. Not urgent but sacred. Touches like prayers, bodies aligning in grace. No rush to peaks, just communion, her whispers of I love you the climax. Departure at Jerez Airport was agony. Her dropping me curbside. Mustang idling like a reluctant heartbeat. This isn't goodbye, she said, kissing me fierce. It's see you soon. Months later, back in Seattle's drizzle, we bridged the Atlantic. Her visiting for Pride. Me flying to her next gig in Lisbon. Mom hosted dinners, toasting to detours that lead home. David faded to a cautionary echo, therapy his path, not ours. What Jen did that I'll never forget. She didn't save me from the cliff that stormy night. She pulled me from the one inside. Teaching that love isn't a road trip's detour, but the map itself. Human, flawed, profound. And in its light I found my way.